You're ready.
For my practicum, I went to Lubrizol, which you've heard a lot about because a bunch of groups go there. They make soap concentrations, so they'll make the concentrations and then they'll sell them to places, and they'll just add water to make it whatever amount of soap that they want. While I was working there, my contact was Linda, and she works with everyone that comes here from Action. Mainly just sat there and made sure I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, on the right track, and really just guiding to make sure I actually knew what I was answering. And then when I was doing this, I worked with Mike and Andy. They were the ones that gave me my projects. It was primarily looking at Excel worksheets and summarizing them. I did my practicum experience in the fall semester 2014, and I went there on Fridays from usually 1 to 4, but then the 4 got really iffy, so I ended up being there till 5 or 5:30. Whenever someone came in and said, "Hey, we're trying to leave, you should leave too." So that's what? Okay. So what I actually did, they gave me spreadsheets from I think August and September, and I was looking at their concentration for several different alcohols that they were putting in their soaps, and just determining which methods were more cost-effective to them, either the batch method or the continuous. So batch and continuous, pretty self-explanatory. Either they would make them in separate batches and then add, put them in tanks and do it that way, or I also got to see the continuous tank method, which is just a bunch of tubes that are going around and they just continually add in the alcohol at a process. And then I was just trying to figure out which one saved money, and there wasn't one particular method that saved money because it depended on which alcohol they were using at the time. I don't even know what the alcohol's names were. They're like G1, 2, 3. Trying to keep things secretive, I guess. And then what I did was I looked at the summary statistics for them. So I would average them all out. So I would make 1,000 cell spreadsheets down to 15 or 20, just so I could look at all the averages, the totals that were going, just to tell them which method I thought would be more cost effective. And then later on I would look at the outliers, because we would find great discrepancy between different months, even on the same alcohol. As for one of the months it'd be oh well, batch method really worked here for you, but on this other month the continuous method worked here. And just also looking at the money, for this month you made a lot of money, while this month you lost a lot of money. So trying to figure out what outliers truly affected that data, and trying to figure out what happened there, what would happen if I took out those outliers. So then when I would talk to, for this project, Mike about these, he then went back through all their data and determined, oh, this is what's going on while they were doing this sample for it, so that must have been what caused my outlier. And now you're going to do the activity that's in front of you. You have this table, and I just want you all to take the averages and totals for the sets of numbers. Does it look like my answer? James, that looks like your answer? I think it is total. It's different? How does your answer differ from mine?
The totals are different. Yeah.
Is there anything else?
The second average is different too.
Answer right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you think that I did different? Well, what do you think I did wrong? Okay, so Maggie, do you want to repeat that?
I said that she added the averages in with the first 3 columns instead of adding just the first 3 columns for the totals.
Okay, yeah. So for the first one, I added wrong on that one. And then the big one was when I took the summation for the totals, I added in the averages and with it. because I was looking at my averages and and told them, like, these are not right. Like, I had to go back for each of the alcohols. I'd have to go back and I'd have to switch which cells were being added to my averages or my totals. So, this activity could be used in the classroom either to get your students started off for the day, get them thinking just as some fun activity. Students would always love to be able to prove their teachers wrong, so it's going to get them really excited about what they're doing. This could be used with math or science because tables, we use those a lot with science and think chemistry. Roommates nodding, yes, chemistry. And then for math, you'll also use them because you used some math concepts to determine these, just adding and then finding averages. So then also, it's important for teachers to have this skill because as a teacher, you want to be able to look at someone's work really quickly and say, oh, I think they did something wrong here. So then you can quickly go back and just try to help them figure out what went wrong while they were doing their work. And then also, it would be a good skill for students to have because then while they're working, they won't get really far into whatever problem they're doing and then realize that they made a mistake. They'll realize more quickly when they make a mistake, like adding in the averages of your totals, which will definitely change any results you could possibly have. It also will have your students become more critical thinkers because they'll look at this, while they're doing this, their work, they'll look at it more thoroughly and say, oh, am I making a mistake here? What's going on? So they'll try to think more critically about what they're actually doing. So, from my practicum, I learned a couple things. I learned the importance of details. For one of my meetings, my meetings would be set up based on email, and I would be sent an email telling me that I needed to go there this time if that'd be okay. Well, I did that, and I went to Loopersall just to find out that I had to drive all the way back here because my meeting wasn't that week. It was the next week. So I'm finding the importance of details and making sure I know when I'm actually supposed to be going places. And just with all the spreadsheets, there are a lot of details to deal with. I also learned a lot about being part of a system because where I was working, I got to see all of what was going on around me and different people talking to Mike or Andy about things that were going on. And then they're also important having fun at work because they would give you food, they would be silly, they'd try to pull small pranks on each other. So they had a really fun work environment, and it's nice to know that you can have those. And then I also learned a lot about the computer. My first day there, when I was trying to log into for my password, I couldn't do it, so I kept trying, and it didn't work. And then Linda came in and told me that the keyboard must have accidentally been on a different language, because where they got their keyboards. So then we had to call IT, and they had to fix everything for us. So then, now I know how, if I were to ever go back, I know how to double check to make sure the keyboard's actually in English.